Welcome to today's episode of Psych with Sigmund, where we delve into the fascinating world of psychology and explore the intricacies of the human mind. Today, we're going to talk about a phenomenon that I'm sure you've all experienced at some point in your lives. The tip of the tongue phenomenon. You know what it's like? You're trying to recall a word, a name, or a memory, but it's just out of reach. You can feel it lurking in the back of your mind, but no matter how hard you try, you just can't seem to grasp it. This frustrating experience is known as the tip of the tongue phenomenon, and it's a common occurrence that has puzzled psychologists and researchers for centuries. So, what exactly is the tip of the tongue phenomenon? In simple terms, it's a temporary inability to retrieve a word or piece of information from memory, despite feeling like it's on the tip of your tongue. This phenomenon can occur in anyone, regardless of age, intelligence, or cognitive ability. It's not a sign of memory loss or cognitive decline, but rather a normal aspect of human cognition. The concept of tip of the tongue phenomenon has been around since ancient Greece, where philosophers like Plato and Aristotle discussed the idea of aphasia or the inability to find the right words. However, it wasn't until the 1960s that psychologists began to study this phenomenon in earnest. Researchers like Roger Brown and David McNeil conducted experiments on word retrieval and language processing, which laid the foundation for our modern understanding of tip-of-the-tongue phenomena. From a theoretical perspective, there are several explanations for why we experience tip-of-the-tongue phenomena. One major theory is that it's due to a temporary blockage in the brain's language processing system. According to this view, when we try to retrieve a word, our brains go through a series of steps, including semantic retrieval, lexical retrieval, and phonological retrieval. If any of these steps are disrupted, it can lead to a tip-of-the-tongue experience. Another theory suggests that tip-of-the-tongue phenomenon is related to the way we store and retrieve memories. According to this view, when we learn new information, it's initially stored in short-term memory, where it's vulnerable to interference from other information. As we try to recall the information, our brains may struggle to retrieve it from long-term memory, leading to a tip-of-the-tongue experience. Research on tip-of-the-tongue phenomenon has yielded some fascinating findings. For example, studies have shown that older adults are more likely to experience tip-of-the-tongue phenomenon than younger adults, possibly due to age-related declines in cognitive ability. Additionally, research has found that people who are bilingual or multilingual may be more prone to tip-of-the-tongue experiences as their brains struggle to switch between languages. So, what can we do to overcome tip-of-the-tongue phenomena? One strategy is to use mnemonic devices, such as acronyms or rhymes, to help encode information in memory. Another approach is to practice mindfulness and relaxation techniques, which can help reduce cognitive load and improve retrieval of information from memory. In everyday life, understanding tip-of-the-tongue phenomenon can be incredibly helpful. For example, if you're trying to recall a word or name during a conversation, don't get frustrated. Just take a deep breath and give your brain some time to process. You might also try using context clues or asking for hints from others to help stimulate retrieval. Furthermore, recognizing tip-of-the-tongue phenomena in others can enhance our empathy and understanding of their cognitive challenges. By acknowledging that it's a normal experience, we can create a more supportive and inclusive environment for people who may be struggling with memory or language processing. By acknowledging the complexities of our minds and the imperfections of our memories, we can cultivate a more compassionate and nuanced understanding of ourselves and others. That's all for today's Psych with Sigmund. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, may your ego find balance between pleasure and reality.